How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf 9 of Masechet Nedarim. Friends, well, Daf 9's interesting if you're interested in what Daf 9 talks about. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know, more like Nedarim kind of stuff. What am I going to tell you? Alright. Well, here goes nothing. Daf 9, Masechet Nedarim. How have you been enjoying the daf now that I'm like a standing kind of thing? Can you tell the difference in like the quality of the daf when I'm standing versus when I'm sitting? Which one do you like better? I don't know, I'm like kind of into the standing thing. I'm a stander, man. I'm a stander. Like I stand a lot. Except that I sit a lot too. But I stand a lot. Like when I do like Babylon Talmud prep, I'm just like roaming around for hours. Like I'm a stander, man. But when I'm like working, I'm mostly sitting. Friends, we got to move on. We're gonna start in Daf Tes. At the top of the page at the Mishnah. Kinidra Rishayim Nodar benozir v'korban v'shvua Kinidra Ksherim lo mer klum Kinidvosum Nodar benozir v'korban. Okay, so it says the Mishnah. Oh, excuse me, Babylon. Oh man. Okay. Kinidra Rishayim. Okay, so if a fellow says, the Gemara is gonna explain a little bit more detail, but if a fellow says Kinidra Rishayim, right, like the vows of the evil, of the wicked, so that counts as a vow. Benozir v'korban uv'shvuah, when it comes to a vow of a nazir, a vow that a fellow is going to bring a korban, as well as a shvuah if he makes a shvuah. Okay, let's go weiter. Kinidra ksherim lo maklum, if he says like the vows of the ksherim, of the just, I don't know, the kosher people, irrelevant, because kosher ksherim don't make vows. We learned that somewhere. We learned that, I don't know, where did we learn it? Subis and Yuvamis. We learned it somewhere that like, you're not supposed to vow. Did we learn somewhere that, no, that was something else. Yeah, vowing is not encouraged. So therefore, Kinidra Ksherim Lo Merklum. Fellow says that he's like making the vow of a kosher person, it's irrelevant. Kinidvosam, now a nidave, on the other end, right? There's Nedarim and there is Nedava. So for example, when it comes to a korban, the nafkamina between a neder and a nedava by a korban is that a neder is like, I'm going to bring a korban. A nedava is, I'm going to bring this specific animal as a korban. So nedavas are more preferred. Okay? And so kinidvosam, so if a kosher person makes a nedava, neder benazir korban, it counts as a neder when it comes to nazir and when it comes to korban. And the Gemara is going to sort of explain these things. So now, we had said in our Mishnah, Kinidra Rishayim, that if he says that he's making Kinidra Rishayim, like the vows of the wicked, so Nadar benazir v'korban uv'shvuah. So okay, it's a proper neder when it comes to a nazir, a korban, and a shvuah. V'dilma achi kama Kinidra Rishayim lo nadarna. But if he says Kinidra Rishayim, all he says is like the vows of the wicked. Maybe he's saying Kinidra Rishayim lo nadarna. Maybe saying, I'm not making the vows of the wicked. Okay, no, there's more. He says Kinedja Rishayim Hareini, or Kinedja Rishayim Olai, or Kinedja Rishayim Heimenu. So Hareini ben Aziris, if a fellow says Kinedja Rishayim Hareini, that I am like the Nidja Rishayim, so that means that he's a Nazir. Olai, if he says Kinedja Rishayim Olai, it is upon me. Bekorban, it means it's upon him to bring a korban. Hey menu, if he says that Kinidja Rishayim from it, b'shvuah, it means that he's not going to eat a certain food. Okay, that he's saying he's not going to eat a certain food. Let's go weiter. Hareini ben Azirus, but one second. So when he said that Kinidja Rishayim Hareini, it means that he's saying that he's vowing to be a Nazir. Dilma Hareini betunis go'amar. Maybe what he's saying is that no, Kinidja Rishayim Hareini betainis, that I'm going to fast. How do you know that it means that I'm a Nazir? Maybe it means I'm going to fast. Shmuel says, well, it's talking about a situation where there was a Nazirite walking before him, and he says, Kinizya Rishoyim Hareini. And there's a Nazirite walking right in front of him. So, Memela, what he's saying is that, like the vows of the wicked, I'm vowing that I'm going to be a Nazir, like this fellow who's walking before us. Heimenu b'shavua. Now, when he says that Kinidja Rishoyim Heimenu, it means that he's swearing that he's not going to eat epis. He's making an oath that he's not going to eat epis. Heimenu de'achilno ka'amar. So maybe it means that he's saying that that he is going to eat it. So, okay, so the Gemara doesn't say this, so I have to add. It's talking about where there's like pizza in front of him, right? So he says, Kinidja Rishoyim Heimenu. So like the vows of the wicked, Heimenu, from it, basically what he's saying is he's making a shvuah, he's making an oath that he's not going to eat any pizza. So, but Vidilma, Heimenu de'achilno ka'amar, maybe what he's saying is, no, I am going to eat it. Like the vows of the wicked, I am going to eat this pizza. Rav says, well, he says, I'm not going to eat it. Well, then what's the chiddush? Well, he didn't specifically say a shvuah, because remember, friends, a neder is when you make an object forbidden to you. A shvuah is when you make yourself also to something. So what he's saying is, heimenu. He's saying that I am going to not eat the pizza. So it's a shvuah, because he's saying that he's not going to eat it. So he doesn't use, he never mentioned an oath. He said Kinidja Rishoyim, so I may thought that it does not count as an oath. So Kamash Milan Adain, that no, Itaka does count as an oath. Alright, fine. And you can't eat pizza. Alright, pizza. Pizza's pretty good. When pizza's good, it's good. Alright. Kinidja Ksherim Lo Amar Klum. Okay, now if he says Kinidre Ksherim, like the Nedarim, like the vows of the kosher people, Lo Amar Klum, it's irrelevant. But Kinidvosam, however, if he says like a Nedava of a Ksherim, so another V'chulei Sen, it does kind of count. So we see that there seems to be a distinction between a Neder and a Nedava. That Ksherim do not make Nedarim, but they do make Nedavas. So now, says the Gemara, the Gemara, Mantana Deshanile Be Neder Le Nedave. So who is the Tane who makes such a distinction between a neder and a nedavah? That nedarim we don't do, but nedavos we do. So, Lema, lo Reb Meir v'lo Reb Yehuda. Well, let's say, it's like neither Reb Meir nor like Reb Yehuda. The Tanya, as we learn in the Brayse, Tov asher lo sidor v'gomer, that the Pasuk says in Koheles, I'm reading the pasuk. Tov asher lo sidor, better not to make any nedarim at all. Mishatidor v'lo teshalim, rather than to make a neder and then not fulfill it. So better not to make any neder at all than to make a neder and do not fulfill that neder. But what about if you make a neder and fulfill it? Right? Clearly, the worst thing is to make a neder and not fulfill it. And so better than that is just not to make a neder at all. But what if you make a neder and you fulfill the neder? Is that better or worse than not making a neder at all? So, Tov mize umize she'enu noder kol ikar divrei Meir. So Meir says just don't make any nedarim at all. Don't make any nedarim at all. That's what Meir says. Just stay away from it. Don't make nedarim, whether you're going to be Makayim, whether or not, just stay away. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, Tov mize umize noder umeshalim. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, no, take, the best thing is to make a neder and to fulfill it. The worst thing is to make a neder and not to fulfill it. Better to not make a neder at all than to make a neder and not to fulfill it. But if you're going to make a neder and to fulfill it, matoivu manoim, givaldi. Afilu tem Reb Meir. So we can say that it's taka Reb Meir, right? So meaning, so now both Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda seem to be talking about nedarim. Nobody seems to be saying anything about nedavos. So now we can even say that it's Reb Meir who makes a distinction between nedarim and nedavos, right? Reb Meir had said that do not make any nedarim at all. But he could be saying, as the Gemara says, Ki ka'amar Reb Meir b'neder. When Reb Meir says stay away, it's right, stay away completely, it's talking about nedarim. B'nedave lo ka'amar. But by nedavis, Reb Meir would say it's fine, right? And that's why we say, right, kinidvosam nadar b'nazir v'korban. That if you, right, the nedavis of kosher people, so that works by a nazir and by a korban. So we could say that when Reb Meir says stay away from nedarim, Babylon, it means stay away from nedarim, but nedavis is an ander azach. Nedarim is a different story. You can make nedavis is an ander azach. Nedavis you could make, and that's fine. But it says kinidvosam nadar, right? So if we're saying that our Mishnah is Reb Meir, he's saying that he's making a neder. So it's need nadav b'nazir v'korban. No, kinidvosam nadav b'neder v'korban. That Reb Meir is saying that the nedavis of ksherim is okay. Umayshna noder dilo. But one second, what's the problem? How come Reb Meir has a problem with nedarim? Dilma asi balidei takolit. Well, what if you make a neder, right? Say by a korban. If a fellow says, I'm going to bring a korban. Well, if he doesn't bring a korban, well then, he can get into trouble. So nedava and nami. But if that's the case, then why should there be a distinction between a neder and a nedava? Also by a nedava, when he says, I'm going to bring this animal as a korban. Where am I? So nedava nami lo dilma asi balidei takolit. Shouldn't we have to be concerned about the same thing by a nedava, that you might not end up bringing the nedava? So why is the nedava better? So Hillel Azakin. Well, it's because we're doing like Hillel the elder. The Tanya, I told you I wrote, I'm a co-author of an entry in, I don't know, some encyclopedia about Hillel Azakin. Okay? I don't even remember what encyclopedia it is. Okay. I think I basically just wrote about the Gemara in Psachim and Daf Samach Vav or whatever. I think I quoted that Gemara. That was a long time ago. Why the heck would they want to put me in some kind of encyclopedia? Whatever. Okay. Anyways, where are we? So we said, so by Nedavid, why are Nedavas okay? Shouldn't we be concerned that you're going to say that you're going to bring this animal as a korban, and then you won't end up bringing it? So it's like Hillel the elder. The Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, al Hillel Azakin, they said regarding Hillel the elder, lo moal shalomal adam balaso koyamav, that while, that during his days, nobody was over the Isser of Me'ilah, of getting benefits from Kachim, because what they would do is with the animals, Meviak Sheichulin Lazar, they would bring the animal unconsecrated to the Azar. Now, of course, they weren't bringing the animal into the Azar, because you can't have Chulin Bazar, you can't bring unconsecrated animals into the Azar, but they would bring it to the gate of the Azar. The point being that they wouldn't, they wouldn't in advance say that this animal is a korban, because that's risky. You might end up getting benefit from it. Rather, they would take a animal to the Beis Hamikdash, umakdisha, and then there by the Beis Hamikdash they would be makdish the animal, v'somech aleh, and lean on it, v'shochata, slaughter it. So we could say that, shouldn't we be concerned that you might not end up offering the nedava? Well, it's talking about where he brings it's talking about where he is bringing the animal to the Beis Hamikdash, and only in the Beis Hamikdash is he saying, okay, this animal is going to be a korban, so there isn't any concern that he's not going to end up offering it, because after all, he's already in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, fine. So I understand the the nedave by korbanos. Okay, so the nedavis of ksherim is okay because they bring the animal to the Beis Hamikdash, and that's where they're saying this animal is going to be a korban. So there's no concern that you're not going to end up bringing it. Fine. But what about by a nazir? Right? We said that kinidvosam nadar ben nazir of a korban. That also by a nazir there's a nedave. What's the nedave when it comes to a nazir? What's a neder versus a nedave by a nazir? What's sort of the kosher way of the neder, the vow of a nazir? So Savila ki Reb Shimon HaTzadik, it's like Reb Shimon HaTzadik, the Tanya, by his definition of a nazir. What's Shimon HaTzadik's example of a nazir? The Tanya is, we learn in the Brisa, Amar Shimon HaTzadik, says Shimon HaTzadik, the Kohen Gadol, Miyomer lo achalti osham nazir tameh, that I never ate the osham nazir tameh. Ela pamachas, only once. What's the Asham Nazir Tameh? The Asham Nazir Tameh is a fellow. What's a Nazir? A fellow who says he's going to be a Nazir. He can't get a haircut, can't become Tameh, can't drink wine, all sorts of things. Now, if he becomes Tmei Meis, if he becomes Tameh by a corpse, so then he's got to start all over, and he brings an Asham Nazir Tameh. He brings this Korban Asham, and says Shimon, and he's got to start counting all over. So now it says Shimon HaTzadik, only one time did he eat the Korban Asham Nazir Tameh, but Adam Echad, that a certain fellow came, Nazir min Nedarim, he was a Nazirite from the south, and he was a Nazir, and he became Tmei Meis, and therefore he had to start all over again, and he had to bring an Asham Nazir Tameh. V'ra'isav shu yifei einayim, says Shimon HaTzadik, I saw that this fellow had beautiful eyes, v'tovroi, he looked real good, ukvutzosov sturis lo taltalim, and he was a Nazir, he had long hair, and it was mamish, beautiful long hair. Amarti lo, says Shimon HaTzadik, I said to the individual, Bini, my son, mara'isa la'ashchis sayrich, how come you became a Nazir? Right? Of course, at the end of the Nazirus, you're going to have to get a haircut. You're going to have to shave. You're going to have to shave your head. Why would you want to shave such beautiful hair? Omar li. So this fellow, this Nazir, said to me, says Shimon HaTzadik, Roya hayisi la'aba. I was a shepherd for my father, be'iri, in my city. Halachti l'malos mayim min hamayin. So then I went to fill up water from the stream. V'nistakalti babua shali, and I looked in, I saw my reflection in the water. Ufachaz ola yitzri, and then my Yetzer Hara got to me. Uvikesh l'tardeni min ha'olam, and wanted to get me in big trouble. Basically, right? So here he is, this Nazirite with beautiful hair, and he goes to fill up some water, and he sees his reflection, and the Yetzer Hara pounces. Omarti lo, I said to the Yetzer Hara, Roshe, Nudnik, Lama atam izgoya ba'olam she'eno shelcha. Why are you acting up and getting haughty in a world that is not yours? But mishu asid lios rima v'soleya, in somebody who in the end is going to be worms and maggots after his death. Leave me alone. Ha'avoda she'galchech lashamayim. I am going to shave my head for the Eibishter, and that is why he became a Nazir, right? So here's this case of this fellow who became a Nazir out of concern that he wanted to be able to shave his head so that he shouldn't have to deal with his Yetzer Hara, so he became a Nazir. And then what happened was he became Tameh, he had to start over again, which is why he was being the Asham Tameh. Miyara Matim Nishaktiv Arosho, says Shimon HaTzadik, I immediately stood up and I kissed him on his head. Omarti lo, and I said to the young fellow, B'ni, my son, Kamocha Yirbu, Nozu in Naziris b'Yisrael. There should be Nazirs like you in Israel. Olecha al Kosavomer, it says about you, Ishki Yafli Lindor Neder Nazir Lahazir La Hashem, that a fellow becomes a Nazir for God. So we see from this story that is a situation of a fellow who's becoming a Nazir for the right reasons. Becoming a Nazir for the right reasons. And like that would be considered like an Idove in the context of Nazir. Excuse me, I think there's a lot of noise coming from outside. Let me see if I can confirm this. Now, I'm not quite sure where this noise is coming from, but whoever's making it is quite effective at making noise. Alright, let's go back to it. So, Maskiv La Reb Mani. So, Reb Mani asked the Kasha, Mashna Oshim Nazir Tome Delo Ochal Dosi Al Chet. How come Shimon HaTzadik specifically did not eat the Osham Nazir Tome? Kol Ashamas Nami Lo Lecho Dal Chet Asu. Is he not eating it because it's coming on account of his sin? Well, he shouldn't eat any Korban Asham, because every Korban Asham always comes on account of his sin. Amalei Reb Yonah. So Reb Yonah says to Reb Mani, Hainu Taima, this is the reason why specifically Shimon HaTzadik would not eat an Asham Nazir Tameh, Kshein Toeh Nozrin, because why do they become Nazirs? They become Nazirs because some terrible thing happens, right? We're gonna, I think, learn probably Masechta Sota or something, right? right? Or maybe Masechta Nazir, that's right. Right, somebody who sees what happens to sota, he says, I'm never going to drink wine again. Whatever it might be, something happens when he becomes a nazir. So something happens that, like, tells him, that a person says to himself, that's it, I have to be a nazir. But then what happens is they become a nazir, they realize maybe it's not so easy, and then they become tamei and they have to start all over again. Mischartin boen, they regret having made this vow, this neder nazir. V'nimtzu mevin chun lazar, and then if they annul this vow by having second thoughts, well then, if they bring, when their naziris is over, right, meaning they didn't actually get the vow annulled, but by having sort of regret for it, so it makes the vow kind of null and void. And then if they, but they didn't officially annul the vow, so when the naziris is over, they go and they bring the korbanos to the Beis HaMikdash. So v'nimtzu mevin chun lazar, and it turns out that they're not actually supposed to be bringing korbanos because they actually had, by regretting having made the vow, so they annulled their naziris, and therefore they shouldn't be bringing any korbanos, right? They're not a nazir anymore. They shouldn't be bringing any korbanos to the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore they have second thoughts. So that's specific to a nazir. That the concern by a nazir specifically is that if he becomes tamei, and then he might have second thoughts. So specifically, the Asham Nazir Tamei, Shimon HaTzadik would not eat. Yihachi afilu Nazir Tahor Nami. If so, then maybe by a Nazir Tahor as well. Shouldn't we be concerned that maybe he had second thoughts? So when at the end of his Nazir, when he brings his Korbanos, maybe at some point during the time he had regretted becoming a Nazir. So Nazir Tahor Lo, no, we're not concerned about a Nazir Tahor, because a nazir who's tahor, so if there was never this, never became tmei meis, never had to start all over again, so we can assume in that case that he became a nazir with the intention of being a nazir. Naziris is over, he brings his korbanos, so you can assume that he didn't have any regret or anything like that, and you can consume those korbanos. It's only when it's when he becomes tamei do we have to be concerned that maybe he regretted it. But if it's like a kosher person, like the fellow in the story of Shimon HaTzadik, so then you can assume that that it's proper intention, and Shimon HaTzadik he's a kosher, and Shimon HaTzadik was willing to eat his korbanos. Alternatively, right? So we had said, our Mishnah had made a distinction between Nedarim and Nedavis. We had said, so who's the Tana who makes distinctions between Nedarim and Nedavis? We said, well, it sounds like neither Reb Meir nor Reb Yehuda. We said, actually, you could say it's Reb Meir. Reb Meir only says, stay away from Nedarim, when stay away from Nedarim. But Nedarvus is okay. Nedarvus would be alright according to Reb Meir. By same or alternatively, Afilutim Reb Yehuda. You could say it's Reb Yehuda, right? That Reb Yehuda had said that that the worst thing is to make a neder and not be mekayim. Better to just not make a neder. But the best thing would be to make a neder and be mekayim the neder. So that's specifically a nedarim. Ki Amar Reb Yehuda b'nedave b'neder lo Amar. Oh, so Reb Yehuda, when he's talking about nedavis, that better, right? That make a nedava and fulfill it. V'akatani tov mizeh no der umekayim. But 1 second, Reb Yehuda specifically said no der umekayim, making a neder. That the best thing is to make a neder and fulfill it, not a nedava. So Tani no dev umekayim. So say it's talking about nedava. The best thing is to make a nedava and fulfill it. That's the best. So we see that Reb Yehuda is making a distinction between a neder, which you should not do, and a nedava, which is the best thing is to make a nedava and be mekayim it. Ma'ishna no der delo. But 1 second, what's Reb Yehuda's problem with making a neder? Dilma asiba lide takala. Because you're concerned that you might not end up offering the neder. For example, if you say, I'm going to bring a korban, we're concerned that you might not actually offer the korban. But nedava nami, dilma oslide takala. But by a nedava as well, we should be concerned that you might not offer the korban as a nedava. If you say this animal is going to be a korban, we should be concerned that you're not going to bring it as a korban. Reb Yehuda the time, Reb Yehuda is consistent with his reasoning to Omar that he says, Adam mevi kivsaso lahazara, he brings his sheep to the azara makdisha, and he's makdish it by the azara, v'somich aleh, and then he leans on it, v'shochata, and he slaughters it. So there isn't a concern that he's not going to be Mekayim it. Tenach Nedavid the Korbanos, Nedavid the Nazirus Meikel Meimer. Okay, fine. So that makes sense by a korban. I understand what the Nedav is by a korban. You bring an animal to the Beis Hamikdash. You say this is going to be my korban. Fine, Beseder. Nedavid the Nazirus Meikel Meimer. What's the Nedav? What's sort of the kosher way to be a Nazir? So Rabbi Yehuda the time, Rabbi Yehuda is consistent with this reasoning. The Tanyas we learn in the Brayso. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda Chasidim Arishonim, the original pious people, misavin lahavi korban chatos, they would want to bring a korban chatos. The fisha in a kadosh baruch hu maybe takol aydin, because the Eibishter wouldn't have negative things happen through them, right? Meaning the Chassidim Arishonim, the original pious people, so they wanted to be able to bring a korban chatas, right? It's in the Torah, we talk about korban chatas. They wanted to bring a korban chatas. The thing is, you can only bring a korban chatas if you sinned, and they wouldn't sin. They were pious people. So what they would do is, Ma'ayu Osim, so what did they do? How could they bring a korban chatas? They would say, you know what? We're just going to become Nazirs. So that afterwards, when their Naziris is over, they'll have to bring 3 korbanos, one of which is a korban chatas, and like that, they'll be able to bring a korban chatas without actually having to sin. Rabbi Shimon Omer says, and that would be the korban chatas of a kosher. That would be the nazir, right? The dova of a kosher when it comes to nazir, right? Somebody becoming a nazir with the intention so that they can bring a korban chatos. Rabbi Shimon Omer says, Rabbi Shimon lo nadru b'nazir. No, they would not become nazirs. They would not make a neder to be a nazir. Ela arotza lavi ola misnadiv maybe umevi. No, if you wanted to bring a korban ola, so then they can bring a korban ola. Shlom misnadiv maybe. If you want to bring a korban shlom, they can bring a korban shlom. Toda ve'arba minei lachma. If they want to bring a korban toda with the 4 types of breads, misnadiv maybe they can bring that. Hava b'naziris lo isnadvu. But the Chassidim Arishonim would not make a nedavet, right? They would not become nazirs, kadesh lo yikaru choten, so that they shouldn't be called sinners. Shenemar v'chipur olav me'asher chota ala nefesh. That after the naziris is up, so then to be a korban chatos, well, v'chipur olav me'asher chota ala nefesh. Well, that's specifically talking about a nazir becomes tameh, as the Gemara is going to point out, but we see that in the context of a nazir, it's called a chet, a sin, and therefore, according to Reb Shimon, no, the pious people would not become nazirs, because by nazir it says that there's a sin, a chet, and they would stay away from that. Okay, fine. Omer Abai says, Abai Shimon Atzadik, Reb Shimon, Reb Elazar Akaper Kulan Shita Achas Hein. Says Abai that Shimon HaTzadik, Reb Shimon, and Reb Elazar HaKaper all say that a nazir is considered a sinner. Shimon HaTzadik, Reb Shimon HaDamorin, Shimon HaTzadik, and Shimon and Reb Shimon, that which we just said, right? We just said that according to Reb Shimon, a nazir is considered a chote, a sinner, and therefore the Chassidim Arishonim would not be nazirs. We saw also by Shimon HaTzadik that only that one specific fellow he was willing to, right, only like in that specific case of this fellow with the long hair and that he saw his Yetzer Hara, that would be considered a kosher, kosher-dik and nazirus. And Reb Elazar HaKaper b'Rebbe, the Tanya, Reb Elazar HaKaper b'Rebbe, that it says Reb Elazar HaKaper b'Rebbe Omar v'chiper olav me'asher chota ala nefesh, that the pasuk says, and he will be atoned for that which he sinned on a soul. What sin did a nazir do? Well, he deprived himself of wine, of drinking wine, and now we can make the following kavachomer. A fellow says he's going to be a nazir, he only abstains from wine alone. Nikra chote, and yet he's called a sinner. A fellow who fasts and he says he's not going to eat anything, so then certainly he's going to be considered a sinner. Mikan kol yoshev b'tainis nikar chote. That's how we know that anybody who sits and he fasts is called a chote, right? If a nazir is considered a chote, so then Mimele, anybody, right? And he's just depriving himself of great products. Somebody who deprives himself from all food would be considered a chote. Ve'adin kra b'nazir tamei. Except the Gemara, but this pasuk is talking about nazir tamei. It's not talking about a nazir in general is going to be a sinner. So mishum deshana b'chet, who said no, it's compounded. That meaning you have a fellow who's a nazir and he becomes tamei. So not only is he sinning because he's depriving himself of all these other things, but he's also considered a sinner because he became tamei while he was a nazir. Well, friends, that was the Haftes of Masechta Nedarim. I hope you enjoyed. We made a distinction about Kinidrei Rishayim and the neders of the evil people. We said that Ksherim don't make neders, but we said that Nedavas is a different story. Nedavas are alright. And we explained how this could be either according to Reb Meir or according to Reb Yehuda. Friends, hope you enjoyed. Peace out.